Total Body Wellness, located in Brownsburg, now in Greenwood, offers tailored solutions and immediate care options dedicated to helping you feel your best. We're doing a deeper dive in women's health as I share my personal struggles in my own wellness journey. I'm so excited today because I'm at a fantastic wellness place in Brownsburg. It's Total Body Wellness, and I have both owners with me today. We're going to talk a lot about all things wellness, including myself, because I'm just now starting on a new health journey. So I have the owners here, is Ashley Regal and Ellie Brennigan. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So Brownsburg, how long have you guys been at this location?
Yes, so we actually opened in September of 2020. So we've been open exactly 5 years, almost to the day. We opened right in the heart of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit of a crazy time, but it was the perfect time because everybody really had a new perspective on the definition of being well. And so we really, it really worked in our favor to push through a kind of a scary time and say, no, we're going to stick to our plan and we're going to continue on this journey of opening this place. Yeah. So at Total Body Wellness, we focus on root cause medicine, common sense medicine. Our tagline says it all. We want you to feel better, look better, and be better.
That is crazy to think that you guys opened in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see where you're coming from, because during that time, everyone's obviously freaking out about their health and trying to be like, how can I be healthy, but how can I live a semi-normal life in the state where we're all in?
Right.
So that's, wow, okay. What's your, so you opened this place during COVID, or, whenever that was in 2020, that span. What were you guys doing beforehand? Like, how did this come to be?
Sure, I think that's a great question. So my background is in oncology and hematology, and I had a very conventional upbringing as far as my medical training goes, but kept finding this need of patients who, it's like there was nobody there to put all the pieces together, whether it was their sleep, their anxiety, their mood, and I just felt this tug in this heart to figure those questions that I was being asked out, and also selfishly wanted to know them for myself. So just like, your health journey, I was on my own health journey. I always like to joke I was patient zero when it comes to figuring things out and learning how to interpret labs. I'm like, well, I'll draw myself. And so Ellie and I met here in Brownsburg and had been working together for a short period of time and really shared a lot of those same beliefs, what it meant to really truly find the root of any condition, and kind of our beliefs again on how you should treat patients and what we wanted to offer them. And so we came together and said, we have a lot to offer, and we are complete opposites, yin and yang. And so it works really well in that way that we have our different strengths and our different gifts. And so we never really butt heads, because it's like we just kind of fit like a little puzzle. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So you here at Total Body Wellness, even me just coming in here and taking a look at the space, I did not realize all the things you guys offer here, which I feel like and we'll get into, all the things, but I feel like a lot of the things that you guys offer beforehand, I feel like I would see it all in separate places. So it felt like if I was trying to get anything done for me and my health, I would have to make an appointment at one place, then I'd have to hop over here, then I'd have to go over there, and to that point, and I have done that in the past before. So then I'm like, I'm too tired and I don't have time to go to 3 different places to figure out what's happening with me. So tell me about, like, how did you all start with all of the offerings all at the same time, or was it a gradual increase of what you were doing?
Yeah.
Well, I know for us, since we're in different backgrounds, so I came with more of like a depression, anxiety kind of history, and I just didn't like the Band-Aid medicine. I didn't like the medicines I was on. I didn't like the outcomes. I just didn't feel good. And so we kind of put it all together, all of our experiences together, and we just looked into the hormones and just expanded to the thyroid, and everything kind of builds on each other. So we just started expanding out and including a lot of services, because it just made sense of Total Body Wellness. You're looking at the total body, and we wanted to make sure that we're looking at every aspect that we can get so people feel their best.
It was a very organic growth. And so some of these services we did offer after we opened, but it was to just meet the needs of the patients. And we thought, how much better, outcomes can we achieve if we included this? And so, and again, being a kind of a one-stop shop is so convenient for the patients, yes, but also important for outcomes. So.
Okay, so run through the gamut of everything that's here. because I'm sure everybody's going to love it.
I would say foundationally, we focus on medical wellness. So that means we are going to look at your blood work. We have an in-house lab that's going to look at, head to toe, any marker that we know that makes sense to, comprehensive thyroid panels or hormone panels, vitamin levels, et cetera. We will also then expand that if needed to neurotransmitter or adrenal testing. So we do urine saliva testing. We expand that to GI mapping. So looking at stool tests. And all of that is considered under that medical wellness umbrella. And then from there, of course, because women are in perimenopause or for whatever reasons, it only makes sense to really be masters of medical weight loss. What does that mean? What pieces are included in that? Building upon that. From there, we get a lot of patients who are toxic or inflamed or have autoimmune disease. That means they have a lot of joint pain. So that's where our holistic provider came in and really helped build that service for either shockwave therapy or PRP injections, cryotherapy. We're building off of the patients that we're seeing. And so these patients who are coming in depleted, exhausted, would only make sense to be able to offer them IV therapy and muscular injections if they're not absorbing things well in their gut. And so, and we realized if we're going to do medical weight loss, we have to have a nutrition counselor. We have to have somebody there helping people with their diet. We have to teach patients. If we're going to tell them, like, you have to do resistance training, well, we're going to have to help them get there. And so having on-site, fitness trainer and on-site gym to show patients how to safely and effectively exercise was important to us. And so, and then including things like peptide therapy. Peptide's a big word. What are peptides? What do people know about peptides? Well, that was really important to us to be certified, not just to dabble in it, to be masters of it. And so getting specifically certifications in peptide therapy so that if we were going to include that in our services, it was because we understood it completely and fully. And so those would, I would say, is a big, round and about on what we offer. And then of course, when you feel good, we say feel better, look better. Part of looking better, and people again don't want to go to so many places. Aesthetics is a part of that. And so we do offer laser hair and facials and injectables. And while that's not our primary focus, we like to really separate ourselves. We are not a med spa. That is not, what we even what I would say like pays the bills or what we build our foundation on, but is an important part of it because again, we're meeting the needs of the patients. And part of that complete package is to feel good about yourself. And those includes even those aesthetic services.
I have to agree with you because I was on my way here and I was texting my best friend. Before that, we had been texting earlier while I was news anchoring. And I in the middle of me news anchoring, I got my phone and I recorded myself. I said, do you see this inflammation? And I'm like going like this, showing it everywhere. And I'm like, I just don't feel good. I don't feel well. And I said, and I don't like the way I feel. And so it doesn't make me feel great. And so she's like, yes, but you're going to this place and you're going to like get back to who you are. You're going to find out the core of your issues. So I agree with that because it's like, I think if you don't feel good and then you don't feel like you look great. And then I kind of, it puts a damper on a woman's confidence, honestly. And then you start to feel a little insecure. And that's kind of like what I've been feeling on the inside. Like, okay, what is wrong with me? And I know a lot of women can relate. So that's why I was just like, I want to be able to do this because I want women to see that you can go somewhere, you can get all the information that you need, and you don't have to go and like pocket and go to different places. You can go to one place and get everything when it comes to your health. So that's what I love about all the things that you guys have here. Where did I guess you have this place, you've had it for 5 years. Why Greenwood? What happened with the second location? How did that come to be?
That's a great question. And I think for us, we did come to a crossroads where we really felt like as far as the amount of services we offer, the physical space that we have, that we were kind of maxed out. And what we've realized is patients were driving from Greenwood. They're driving from Fort Wayne. They're driving from South Bend. They're driving from Southern Indiana. So we knew that like there is a need everywhere. And so Greenwood was a really natural next step. We have staff that lives in Greenwood that are part of that community. We did a lot of research. We spent a lot of time down there. It's specifically looking at neighborhoods, and we just really felt called to right where we ended up in that kind of Center Grove, Barkersville pocket. To me, it reminds me a lot of Brownsburg. Like a lot of that town pride and just, every time we're there, someone's stopping by, like introducing themselves, someone someone from the town, someone from the neighborhood, random people are like, hey, I saw that there's a now open sign. And that reminds me so much of Brownsburg.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I just, every time I'm there, I just get that warm sense of like, this is where we're supposed to be. And so, yes, part of it was market research, but it also was a part of it is a lot of what we do is our intuition and our gut. And we felt like that is exactly where we were supposed to be.
It is a great space, that area. I know there was just new construction there. And so you really are right in the middle of like Center Grove, where you can go either Greenwood here, Bargersville the other way.
Yeah.
So speaking of the new location, Greenwood, you guys are going to have a grand opening coming up here soon. Tell me about all the things that are going to happen and exactly when it is too.
You want to share when that is?
Yeah, it's going to be October 9th from 5 to 7. And we're just going to have an open house. Everybody's welcome. Prizes. passing out.
Yeah. So we invited some local Greenwood vendors that we haven't had any prior relationships with, but felt like some ways to partner up and just share the love, and we can give them exposure and we have invited our personal vendors as far as whether it's supplement companies, lab companies, the InBody scan, just to share more about what we do. We are currently open, so this is more of like a way to just share the love, share the space. It's a beautiful building, and so an opportunity to maybe if you're like, I've driven by there, but what's exactly in there?
Yes.
You can see the IV room, you can see the lab, you can see the exam room, you can talk to staff. So a lot of our Brownsburg staff is going to be there to be able to answer questions and talk to patients about what we do, and invite patients to make a new appointment while you're there and really check it out, and kind of just celebrate that we're here, like we're ready for you. Bring it on.
Will people have the chance to, because I know when you and I talked on the phone, like just our first initial conversation, I was already like mind blown, where people are going to be able to, if they have any questions, are they going to be able to kind of have, not necessarily say, like a full grand consultation, but something to the effect where they can kind of get a taste for what's to come?
Yeah. So all of our providers will be there to help explain like how important hormones are, thyroid is, and stop by and talk to them to get an idea of like, is this the right fit for me? We'll have our nutrition counselor there doing free InBody scans so people can look at their
that's great.
inflammation and look at their muscle mass and their water weight. And we'll have our nurses there in the IV rooms explaining and giving away free B12 shots and IVs to patients and explaining like this is why an IV is good over maybe something else and when the right time is to do one.
Yeah.
And so we are all hands on deck to help explain that and see what services are a good fit.
That's awesome. Because generally, if you go anywhere, they charge you for an InBody scan. So that's a great thing to even just say, hey, you can come by and get this and kind of get a head start on like where you are in terms of your body and all of that. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. So what's the date of that again?
October 9th.
October 9th from 5 to 7.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I love
Brew
that.
Burger is right next door. They've offered
That's
to cater for us. So they're with a lucky neighbor. So they're going to provide snacks, and our Quest Lab's got dessert handled. And so little bites and drinks and education and free stuff.
Well, I'm just down the street, so I have to come.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
And also, I haven't even been, I live in Greenwood, but I haven't even been to Brew Burger because I'm constantly, my son goes to Center Grove High School.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm on Stones Crossing, and I'm like this, like home, football, school, back home. Like I'm like the chauffeur right now, and I always drive by, but I never go in. So this will make me be like, okay, I'm gonna try it all.
Exactly. Perfect.
That's great. All right. So with Total Body Wellness, we are taking a look at all the things that are currently going wrong with me. I've been very open, or I have been pretty open in terms of social media, just about, what I go through. I have an autoimmune disorder. I've had 6 surgeries. I've had 3 organs removed. I have interstitial cystitis. I got diagnosed back in 2012. I was actually in TV. I was working at Channel 6 as a traffic anchor, and I was in the absolute most worst pain getting up at 2:30 in the morning, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And I would be crying in the middle of breaks while we would cut to commercial. And after a year of going through tests, that's when I got diagnosed. And then at that point, my doctor was like, okay, here's the deal. You can, you not sleeping and not getting on medications not helping. So you can continue on this path of barely sleeping, being a new mom and being on TV and having your dream job, or you can go get a normal job and start to heal. And I cried. I was so mad because I loved my job. But I left. I went into ministry for 8 years, and then I did social media. I've done all the things, and then I had my own fitness studio. I did bodybuilding competitions, so I know what it's like to be fit. And I had a good rein on my immune disorder. Well, here comes the hormones after I turned 39, and so the hormones have just kind of flipped me upside down. And I'll be 43 at the end of the month, and I'm at a point now where I can't find a solution to anything. And I'm here now.
I'm glad to have you.
That's my story.
Yeah. It's hard for women because traditionally, primary care physicians are not trained in perimenopause. I can speak from that from my own experience. My degree has the word primary care in it. We don't touch on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of gynecologists, it's black and white. You're either postmenopausal or you're not. And if you're anywhere in between, then there's not a good roadmap for that. But what's really important to us is understanding science and understanding the way that your hormones communicate. And I always say, your body, your wellness is like driving right now for you on square wheels.
Yeah.
And so, sure, you can round out one of those corners, right? We can look at your thyroid and say, okay, thyroid's great. But if we're not handling your sex hormones, your gut health or your inflammation, it's still going to be a really bumpy ride.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important to put all those pieces together and to look at everything and how all cells communicate. And so one thing that I think it's important for women to understand is that, it is textbook. You can look at the textbook. At age 35, your progesterone starts reducing. So that is why women who get pregnant after age 35 are considered an advanced maternal age. Or quote unquote, they used to call it high risk or geriatric pregnancies, if you've ever heard that term.
Yes, I
35
have.
now
that sounds awful. You just say it.
Now that I'm 40, I'm like, 35's so young. But it's because it's a biological change in hormone signaling. Progesterone just takes a nosedive. We become very estrogen dominant over a long period of time until estrogen decides to follow. And women 35 to 45 are at the highest risk for hysterectomies, ablations, excessive bleeding, changes with a lot of, just not a lot of guidance on how to handle those changes. And so I think for you, after we spoke about your history, so I could almost clock it when that probably happened. And yes, you can get a hysterectomy. And for some women, that is the right choice, especially with a lot of inflammation or other issues. But we have to remember that our hormones are head to toe.
Yeah.
Our hormones are systemic. And so while we can address mechanical problems with our uterus or bleeding with an ablation or birth control pill or hysterectomy, that does not address everything else that hormones are responsible for.
Yeah, I feel like I had turned 39 and I was starting to do prep for my 6th bikini show. And my body was not responding the way it used to. And so my coach was like, have you had your hormones checked? And I was like, no, not really. And so I went through some like online place, started getting that. And that's when I was in the middle of getting like the hot flashes, the irritability, the weight gain, all of those things. And so I finally got on that. I started my prep. My body started to respond, but then I hit a wall very quickly. I think I was in my 3rd month of prep, and we were going to do a very long prep because my body was just so out of whack. And I think it was the month 4, and I was like, you know what? I don't think this is the right time. My body's just not working, and I'm just going to spin my wheels, and I'm going to be, eating 40 carbs a day and working 2 hours a day out just to drop body fat. And at what point that's not worth it. So,
and that's why, again, it's so important to find, when we say holistic, we mean whole body provider, because yes, we do need to look at your estrogen and progesterone and your DHEA and your testosterone. But what about your adrenal hormones?
Yeah.
Right? What about your cortisol? What about your neurotransmitters? What about your gut health? What about your thyroid? Like, how much of your thyroid is being bound by protein? How much of it is available for use? All your hormones love to communicate together. It's this biofeedback loop. And so that's probably why you did feel well for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
But, especially you and I've had this conversation when you think about your gut health and you've got your wellness bucket and we're pouring so much into it and we're going to bed earlier and we're getting our 10,000 steps in and I'm eating less carbs or I'm tracking my macros. But again, something like your gut health, if it is imbalanced, you've got bacterial overgrowth, if you've got leaky gut, you're just pouring into a bucket with a big gaping crack in the bottom. So we never feel like our bucket is full. We feel like we're trying, we're just not getting those same results that you may have gotten in the past.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to look at everything. So if we're skipping over those important steps, then yeah, you just that longevity of wellness is compromised at that point.
Right. And so now I'm like, okay, I want to do the whole thing because I want the longevity and I want it to be sustainable and to be healthy, but also feel better about myself.
Right.
And that's the whole point I'm doing this. So
yeah.
All right, so we did the in-body scan. So I don't know if do you want to go through any of my blood work at all, or do you want to go through this first?
So basically, when we start, so if I'm meeting you and you're going to be under my care, I will ask for any prior blood work, which is helpful because I don't want to have to repeat anything unnecessary, and it does give me a little bit of a picture of some of those puzzle pieces. And then I like to do what we call an in-body scan. A lot of people have heard of in-body scans, but if you haven't, it's essentially a way to break down, total weight into lean muscle mass, into water mass, into fat mass. Not only fat mass, but where are you holding that? Because visceral fat is very, determining on other metabolic factors.
Yes.
And that's part of that initial intake when we see patients, because I don't have a single patient that comes to the door and says, oh, my weight's fine, but everything else is a problem because it all goes together, right? And so for you, one of the first things we did was, okay, let's establish an in-body scan, and we can look at it and see, body fat percentage for women should be under 28, right?
Yes, and that's why I was like, I've always been under.
So we don't want it too low. That can, again, negatively affect hormones, but that percentage of how much of your total body weight is made up of body fat and lean muscle mass and bone mass is important. So having a body fat percentage of 34 is fine, but that gives us a goal, right?
Yeah.
And so what I care less about is this weight, right? This top number, what your actual pounds are. When we work together, what I'm going to watch is your body fat percentage improving. Are you gaining lean muscle mass? And the other number is this visceral fat. So visceral fat is essentially, so you have the fat you can squeeze on your belly.
Yeah.
And then you've got your abs, you've got your abdominal wall, and then you've got your organs. And the visceral fat is all the fat that pads those organs, right? And so the problem with the visceral fat is that's the fat that can store in your liver and increase your cholesterol and make your body more inflamed. When you do have high cholesterol, the higher your visceral fat is, and the way that is now stored in your liver is that's what makes cholesterol more risky, right? So cholesterol's not bad. Even high cholesterol is not necessarily bad.
Yeah, because I started freaking out at some of the cholesterol numbers I had in my
But it's what is that cholesterol doing inside of your body?
Yeah.
And part of that we look at is visceral fat. So you're like right at the borderline.
Okay.
So ideally we keep your visceral fat less than 10.
Okay.
So you're at 10, right? So you're okay. But again, are you optimal?
Yeah, no.
Right. So we're going to want to see that number improve. And so when we track this over time and as we see weight come down, we want to make sure we're not sacrificing muscle mass. There will always be a percentage, but our goal is to keep you less than 15% of your total body weight that you've lost. We want less than 15% of that to be muscle mass, right? Average person who doesn't work with us, when you look at any studies, it's about 20 to 25% of each pound is muscle. But we're going to shoot for even less than that.
Okay.
We really are going to make sure we're retaining that muscle. The other one is this extracellular water. That gives us an idea of inflammation.
Okay, so
right?
that was going to be my
It's
next
kind of
question.
Where are you?
Because I always say I
holding that?
feel like I just feel so inflamed. So
So
maybe it's just fat. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's again when we're like, hey, I'm up this week. Oh, but so is my extracellular water. And then we know you're not gaining fat, but you're holding on to extra fluid right now because you're having more inflammation. And now we need to use that as a tool to figure out why. Why are you inflamed?
Yeah.
So your extracellular water is borderline. Anything above 0.38 is considered high, and you're 0.381. So you're like right there. Again, we want to see that closer to 0.36. So those numbers change by just 0.0001 numbers
So they're
at a
tiny.
time. So it's a really, really, really tight margin. But that's another one when we follow your weight. If we see that creeping up, then that's a problem. So that's another way that we can use this tool as a part of the puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what do you think about my muscle mass on here? What's that? Normally,
so with your lean muscle mass, it's not that there's a perfect number, but again, that percentage. So of your total body weight, we want to see that this relationship kind of inverse. So we want to see, if you see here, these numbers here, we kind of want the V to go the other direction, right? So we want muscle mass here and body fat
body
down.
fat down.
Yeah, the ideal shape here is going to be an arrow pointing forward.
Okay.
Right? And so what's cool about this too is that we're also looking to make sure there's not any deficits between each extremity. So right arm versus left arm. If you have a lot more right arm muscle mass, then you really need to make sure you're doing like training that
Which is
separated.
so true.
Right. And,
And I'm a lefty.
oh, that's interesting.
But I carry a lot lot of my things on my
your
right side.
And so that makes sure, you're not going to want to maybe do a barbell push, but you're going to want to make sure to do like dumbbells instead so that you're not
that's really interesting.
like favoring that muscle on that side. And so
Okay.
that helps you determine. I mean, I think yours are fine. But it does help as we move along, making sure you're also gaining or retaining at an equal rate to the left or right side.
Okay. So with now seeing this, and then obviously I know we talked about the blood work that I had, and already you're like, I already want to order X, Y, and Z for you because I know, I have a feeling I know what's going on. Do you want to talk about some of that a little bit? Like,
so again, even too, so you're coming to me feeling inflamed, you have difficulty losing weight. So when we see a visceral number at 10, there's actually through Quest a panel that we can do that gives you an insulin resistance score, because sometimes your insulin resistant numbers, just a plain insulin, can be variable. Even though you come fasted, sometimes it's like, is it high, it's low? It's more accurate. We look at something called your fasting insulin, a C-peptide, and it gives you an insulin resistance score, which people love scores. They love, they love to be like red,
they
green,
wanna
or
see the
like,
results.
or yellow. It's like, I want to be green. And
Yeah.
so it kind of gives you that sliding scale, but that helps us understand metabolically, if your insulin resistance score is high, then we know that no matter like a calorie deficit, does not matter. Your body is going to store excess sugar into fat, right? So when your cells are insulin resistant, it's like a stopping point for this glucose that you're taking in. The ideal way that we store glucose is in our lean muscle, some glycogen storage in our liver. So that way when we are in motion, it's easily accessible and we're using that, we're burning that. When we are insulin resistant, it's like it will only so much can get through, and the rest of this excess calories, it's like, well, where do I go now? Well, it's going to store in fat cells.
so that could be potentially one thing that could be
Correct.
affecting my body right now. Okay.
Yeah, and that can just happen. Family history, genetics, chronic stress, weird wonky sleep cycles, right? Bodybuilding history, it's a lot of stress and trauma on the body. And so I see that in bodybuilders that they can be a little bit more likely to be borderline insulin resistant than maybe someone who didn't put their body through so much stress. And so not that it's not a bad thing, it's a beautiful sport.
It really is a beautiful sport, but I mean, in all honesty, it's not healthy, and it does quite a lot of damage. And I've done 5 shows,
Sure. Right.
And I've lived through it. And so now being on the other side of like not, and still thinking like, oh, I want to do one more show. And now that I'm here, I'm like, yeah, no, probably not. Because
Right.
I was like, I placed second and I wanted first. I thought I was going to get first. I had it in pre-show and then like for the judging. And then like I got mad because then I got second. And then I was like, I'm going to come back and do another one.
Yeah.
Just so I can get first and retire.
Right.
But now I'm like, no, that's not
Taking
happening.
care of you, exactly.
Yeah.
And that helps us understand as a provider kind of what your body's been through and what some things that we need to look at. Some other things that you and I had talked about, of course, is your complicated history with hormones.
Yes.
You had shared with me that you did have a hysterectomy at a very early age, and that does compromise that blood supply to your ovaries. That can really...
So even though I have my ovaries, it's still going to affect everything, which, see, I didn't know that.
Right.
I was told, oh, we're going to do it this way since you're young.
Right.
So you'll be fine and you're not going to have any issues.
Yeah. And when you look at, even just that risk for, we call it premature ovarian failure, because there was basically a lack of blood supply. Any woman, whether it's a hysterectomy, medically induced, or just natural menopause, mortality rates are directly correlated to the age of onset of menopause. The earlier you are in menopause, the earlier mortality you will have. That's just a fact. You can't dispute that.
Oh, that's awful.
And so we want to look at a more comprehensive hormones, right? So your ovaries are still working, but how much of that progesterone that we talked about earlier, what are the ratios? So we like to look at your ratios of estrogen to progesterone. Are you estrogen dominant? Are you actually low in estrogen for your age in this cycle? And so other ovarian hormones include testosterone. Testosterone is produced both by your ovaries and also your adrenal glands. And we see a lot of this in men and women. We see a lot of men, firefighters, police officers, servicemen who have crazy hours. Their testosterone is in the
Like
toilet
depleted.
because they're doing 24-hour shifts, they're working overnight, they're a high stress job. Well, not only is their testosterone being produced by their testicles as a sex hormone, but also by their adrenal glands. And when your adrenal glands are shot, that's going to play a huge role in that. And so again, men with really low testosterone at an early age have early mortality rates. It's kind of similar as far as like menopause and what we call menopause or andropause. And so for you, we want to like really look at your hormones, not just an estrogen, but your follicle stimulating hormone, which I was able to see was still low. That's suppressed. We want that low.
Okay.
When your ovaries don't respond, that number goes up. So when we diagnose menopause, it's an FSH or follicle stimulating hormone over 25. I think yours was about 8.
Okay.
So that means that, like, thankfully, even though you're several years out of your hysterectomy, ovaries still are sending that signal back to the pituitary, which we like to see. I didn't see a progesterone, so I definitely want to see that. I think that's super important. That's anyone, over age 30, really between 30, 35, we've got to see what your progesterone is doing. And then of course, when we think about some other complaints that you had, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, we have to look at the thyroid.
Yeah.
Again, the thyroid, a lot of people want to blame the thyroid and everything, but what we know about the thyroid is it's like, it gets caught in the crossfire. So often it's going to respond to other imbalances in the body. And so very rarely do we have someone come in with a true primary hypothyroidism. But we see subclinical hypothyroidism all the time because they're overweight, they're insulin resistant, their hormones are out of whack, they don't sleep, they're anxious, and the thyroid is going to respond to all of that. An iron deficiency, vitamin D deficiency just drives thyroid function down. And so again, you may get a TSH drawn once a year by your primary care. That's your thyroid stimulating hormone.
Yeah.
They're going to say that's normal. That does not tell us anything.
Right.
And so what we need to know is that's just, again, pituitary, since just like an FSH, right? If the thyroid is like alive, it's going to say, okay, I'm still working, and it's going to send back to the pituitary, and you're going to kind of see a suppressed TSH, similar to your FSH if ovaries are still functioning. But that doesn't tell us the whole story. How much of those thyroid hormones are being used at a cellular level? Because your thyroid produces something called T4 or thyroxine. I like to call it like money in an IRA. Like, great to have, you got to build that up, but it's not accessible. You can't use that in the afternoon when you're crashing at 3:00 and trying to get through the rest of the day. All that money is tied up. So what you need is you need withdrawal, you need cash on hand. And that's that conversion from T4 into T3 and then into free T3. So free T3 is your cash, that's your debit card, that's your ability to go spend money. That happens. That has nothing to do with your thyroid gland, right? So your TSH could be normal, but your free T3 could be in the toilet because that conversion happens in the liver, requires iron, requires proper communication from sex hormones, requires good minerals, micronutrients, stress. All of that is going to slow that conversion. And so if you're not looking at how much of those thyroid hormones are actually available to use, then you're not looking at the thyroid.
Gotcha.
And so for you, we need to see, that's when we call it a comprehensive thyroid panel.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. That's what that term means, is how much thyroid hormone do you have at 3:00 in the afternoon to get you through a busy day when you're going to pick up your son and you got to drive him here and you're sitting there at a stoplight like, I cannot do this tonight.
Yeah.
So we want to look at that. We find that there's trends even in living in Indiana. I guarantee you your vitamin D is low, or at least not optimal.
Oh, probably.
And so again, that's a wide reference range. Vitamin D is, they say the average reference range is 30 to 100. You'll go see a primary care, even you have to beg for it. Let's say you're 35, your vitamin D. They're going to say, perfect, no problem.
You're in range.
Yeah.
That's what I used to get before when I was getting blood, where everything's in range. You're good. And I've had my thyroid tested before, but it was a couple of years ago, and they're like, you're fine. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm in range though? Can you explain it?
Right. Right. A simple T3 can be life-changing.
Yeah.
Really. And again, what's really cool is a lot of times, let's say we write a prescription for thyroid hormones because you need them. So you're studied on maybe a combination of a T4 and a T3 hormone. That's a normal prescription that goes to wherever you get your medications filled. A lot of times, most patients can wean off of those. We find that their thyroid just picks up because the rest of the body gets kind of into that homeostasis. And they don't have a primary thyroid condition. Yeah. But that conversion rate picks up, and we don't even need those thyroid hormone prescriptions anymore. We can wean off of those often because it's like you're doing fine, and the thyroid picks back up. So that's why I call it, it's very fickle. It's very responding to other things. And so again, for you, I did not see a vitamin D level. Again, for hormone, like that, those sex hormones, your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, need vitamin D as a regulator there. So we want that on the high end of normal. So
Gotcha.
again, if the reference range is 30 to 100, we want you 80 to 100.
Yeah.
So the importance is evaluating where you are and
Okay.
understanding, well, how much do I need to take every day to get there? And then when we repeat that, if you're not absorbing it, okay, these are the reasons why maybe you're not absorbing vitamin D. And we'll do the same for vitamin B12. Again, the way that our food is processed, even if you're eating straight from the earth, the nutrients in our food, and compared to 30 years ago, I think it's about an 80% loss of these micronutrients. So the access to like real nutrients is getting harder and harder as we use technology to help grow crops and we eat as much as we can. So again, we look at your vitamin B12 and we say, okay, it's really low. Is this, you're not getting a good, absorption of this? Is this a methylation issue? We look at something called MTHFR. It's another, again, like, are you even able to absorb vitamin B12 from certain foods or enriched foods? And so those are, again, iron. Even if you're not bleeding, you can still be low in iron, meaning bleeding from a monthly cycle, because you're not, again, absorbing. We've talked about gut health, which we'll get into, but if you're not absorbing dietary iron, iron tanks. Iron is a part of a precursor to dopamine. Dopamine keeps you motivated. Dopamine keeps your libido up and your desire up to do things.
This is crazy. I had no idea like any of this.
So if your iron is low or not, again, not optimal, it's going to affect everything.
Yeah.
And so we have to check that when we are evaluating your wellness and you're coming to me with these concerns. It's that's a non-negotiable. Those are things that I need to see. And so those are part of the blood work, right?
Okay.
So when I said, these are great, some of these labs I don't need to look at because you did bring those, but here's all the things that I did see that I want to see specific to your concerns.
Gotcha. So now the next steps are to get the things ordered that I don't currently have so that you can have a full view of everything, and then we can kind of go from there.
Exactly.
Once you get those results back.
Yes. And so we try to make it as convenient as possible for patients. Quest Diagnostics is a national lab. They're all over the United States and they're all over the world, really.
Yeah.
And because of that, in our partnership with them, we have a Quest lab that basically houses in both locations. And so when we task you to get blood work done, what's nice is you walk out of my room and you go right into the lab and we can draw that.
That's great.
And if it's not convenient, our hours are not convenient. As you know, there's several Quest locations in Greenwood and similar to here in Brownsburg. But we use them and they do accept all insurances, and that's a whole separate conversation. But anywhere we can save you money, we're going to do that. So we don't do cash labs. We don't run, you can use your insurance, but we also have partnerships again with Quest that if you don't have insurance, our lab that we typically do, especially these I call basic thyroid panels and things, are very under $200. So still very accessible to be able to do. And so the next step after getting all of this information is, yes, here's what I'm missing. Here's what I want you to get. The other thing that I'm tasking for you is also to understand your gut health. So we're going to layer that on. I don't do that with all new patients. If I don't see any red flags right up front, I may not recommend a stool test, but usually we get there. It's just sometimes we have to just get some of these foundations first. Like if I can get you sleeping and energized in the afternoon, you're more likely to trust me to invest in a stool test and okay, I guess I'll do my poop for you. So I'm not going to throw it all at you at once, usually, unless there's glaring issues. And so one of those would be autoimmune disease. If we do not check your stool and you have autoimmune disease and you have inflammation, then again, we are going to be pouring into that bucket with a big gaping crack. At this point, what's the point of taking B12 or taking iron if your gut is a mess?
Yeah.
And so again, for you, I would prioritize that right off the bat. Is we're going to do a stool test and we're going to layer that into understanding how well you're absorbing these nutrients. And a little about the gut is that what we don't realize about our gut, or the lining of our gut, is actually built by channels, right? So they kind of they plug together like this, and there's little cells that hold that together. On top of those channels is a mucosal layer, and that's really important for protecting that, maintaining environment of good bacteria, digestive enzymes, right? And what you'll learn as we do this is most people who have high visceral fat or insulin resistant, there's a very specific type of bacteria that you'll be low in that make a huge difference. It could be something as simple as a low, what we call Akkermansia, in your gut that's why you can't lose weight and why you didn't do well on your prep. The whole time it could have been something as simple as a bacteria in your gut that you're missing.
Okay.
And so as that bacteria gets disrupted either by foods that we eat, medications that we had to take, if you had a lot of interstitial cystitis and you had to do a lot of antibiotics, like we're wiping out your good bacteria.
Yeah.
Well, guess what happens? Those little cells, that zonulin that holds those channels together start they get compromised and it starts separating. And so when you hear that term thrown around on TikTok or your Instagram reel about leaky gut, what that means is you've now got permeability in that intestinal wall. And so undigested food or things that are certain bacteria, we call lipopolysaccharides that house bacteria, they kind of explode and they can fit through those tiny spaces. So you develop food intolerances, right? You're not born with an intolerance or sensitivity to food.
Yes, that's what I was talking to you before. I feel like I'm allergic to or I have some kind of intolerance to something.
Right.
It's awful.
Yeah. And so you develop that over time because that mucosal layer got broken down, those channels started to open up and little tiny food particles started slipping through. And every time your blood, you're getting exposure to that, your body recognizes that as a foreign object and it's going to build an antibody to that. It's like, oh, hold on, you're not supposed to be here.
Gotcha.
So it starts building antibodies. And so in the setting of autoimmune dysfunction is now you're at risk that your body doesn't know how to recognize antibodies towards foods or medications that weren't supposed to get through to otherwise healthy tissue, right? And so we can really make autoimmune disease so much worse if we don't address this gut, because I've actually been able to do comprehensive autoimmune panels on patients and seen markers for rheumatoid arthritis. These IgMs mean like active disease for rheumatoid arthritis. We do their gut health, we put them on mast cell stabilizers, we do the whole gamut. We'll repeat those autoimmune panels. No evidence of disease. ANA is negative.
Wow.
IgMs are gone. And it wasn't that they were born or primarily had rheumatoid arthritis, but it was that their body couldn't figure it out. There's too many antibodies. There's too much inflammation coming through. And the problem is if it wasn't addressed, then they would develop that. Those antibodies now are attacking healthy tissue. And now they're like, I can't do my job. I can't type. I hurt everywhere. And guess what they're doing? They're gaining weight because they're not going to the gym because it hurts to hold the dumbbells. And so it's just this snowball effect. And we could have missed that if we didn't do a GI map. Right.
Gotcha.
So that's why for you, we're going to do that. Okay. Can't miss it. You have autoimmune dysfunction, you have inflammation. We're going to do that off the bat. So we have to do that. And then we're going to do our blood work as well. And so the next step, the next time we meet up is we get to go over all of that.
All right.
And make a plan.
I'm excited for the plan.
Yeah.
I need the plan. I needed it 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to all this. This is great. I mean, I want to cry with that number, but it's fine. It's fine. It is what it is.
I know. I mean, the best part is how pretty it's going to be
Yes.
as we go, right? You can't start low.
Right.
You got to start high and make our way down. So, yeah. And so so the next step for patients is we'll educate them on how to do their blood work. So for you, for example, today, we're not going to do labs because it is important to be fasted.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at fasting labs. You're going to take home your stool kit. You're going to do all of that at home. And then all that information comes back to me and you come back to me and we just lay it all out and we prioritize. And so one of the things that we do with all of our patients is we establish those goals, and I say, what is most important to you? Because again, we're going to have a lot of information come through. So as I develop my treatment plan, I'm really going to focus on those goals, right? So if yours is I gotta get this weight down, I need more energy.
Yeah.
Then that treatment plan will really focus on is achieving those goals together.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go.
Then again, that's why I wanted to do this, is because I know there are so many women right now that are struggling with all of this. And so I want to show them that okay, I'm going to do it. And it can be a little intimidating and uncomfortable because you're in a space where you're not comfortable in your body and you don't feel healthy. But then you're kind of scared to go talk to somebody about it at the same time. It's weird. It's so interesting to me. And I think it's just the mind of how females work. I used to professionally dance and I still dance. And I've always had women come into my classes sometimes and being so intimidated. I can't dance. I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, girl, just walk in here. Nobody's looking at you. Everybody's looking at that mirror at their own selves, trying to make sure they got the dance moves. So I can be so confident in so many other areas. And then right now for this, I am tremendously insecure.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how that just changes.
It does. And I think part of it too is we're conditioned to not feel heard, or like we don't get that validation when we do bring up concerns. And
Yeah.
so you're 20 years into this, right? You've never found a provider that was like, I hear you and this is the plan.
Yeah, no,
right?
I've been like, I hate all my doctors and I'm never going to see you again.
Right.
And with my immune disorder,
Yeah.
that's how I have felt.
Exactly. And we say all the time, we're not someone's first stop.
Yeah.
Right. We most often when people come to us, they've gone to their gynecologist and they've seen an endocrinologist and they've seen maybe a sleep doctor. They've certainly seen a psychiatrist, their primary care doctor.
Yep.
And it's like, help me put all this together
Yes.
and help me like understand why I feel the way that I do. And so, what we really try to do is validate how you feel and give you a scientific reason why,
Yeah.
right? It's pretty black and white. So we help you understand. And one of my passions is education. And so I'm always going to educate you along the way because I want your buy-in,
Yes.
right? You're like, I'm more likely to take this vitamin D every week because I know if I take it, these X, Y, and Z is
Yeah.
why I feel better. So if I don't educate you on that, then you're like, ugh, why am I taking all these supplements, or why am
Right.
I filling this prescription? But so that buy-in is super important for you. This is why I really try to take the time with patients and educate them along the way so they understand and they're excited to do that.
Well, thank you for all. I mean, this has been completely eye-opening in terms of the education, because it's like you always hear things getting thrown around and stuff, but you don't really you tend to like listen, but you don't really investigate all of it to try and figure out what's happening. And for you to just sit here and explain all of this to me, like it's really good to actually understand, like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Right.
There probably is something wrong with me. I know obviously I've had things wrong with me, but like now this is the time where I really have to address it and put my faith into somebody again. So
Yeah.
I'm
I'm excited to
grateful
work
for
with
you.
you.
Yeah, I'm excited to do the next steps, and we're going to keep everybody up to date on this journey, and we'll go from there. But we're going to record everything, and we're going to share with everybody every time we meet. And
Good.
yeah,
Good.
we're excited for you to come along to the journey. So thanks.
Awesome.
This is good.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was
I'm
good.
excited.
Yeah,
Good.
that was amazing. I feel like you have so much I'm mind blown right now, just the amount of knowledge that you have. And I feel like women are going to be like, I need to listen to this.
Yeah. Well, it's like, don't listen to your TikTok doctor and your
Yes.
or your, even, I hate to say it, your gynecologist that's like, they don't, you can try those places, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, well, actually we do. Like,
Yeah.
we are very passionate about education and advanced training and also we see, I mean, our patient base, we have 7,000 patients. Very
Oh,
few
wow.
studies have like that. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need to read a study. I have my own study every day. I
Yes,
see thousands
no
of
way.
patients. So I know I don't need to read a study. I know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes there are things that I recommend that I just fall through.
Yeah.
I don't get the what I think I'm going to get out of it, but that's part of the learning process. And thankfully for you, I'm well into this. So you're not going to be someone that we're.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
To learn more about Total Body Wellness, check out their website at totalbodywellness.com.